Hi everyone, so we just got a new hotfix that seems like it has nerfed the Sorcs a little bit. So I want to maybe put this a little bit in perspective so that you know what to expect. I actually just made my updated Lightning Spear Sorcerer guide. It was published like yesterday basically. And a lot of people are enjoying the Lightning Spear Sorc. And now we have this hotfix round 4 here. This was posted by Filthy Rich like a few hours ago. And well, at the making of this video, not all of the details are exactly clear of what changed here, but it does seem like Lightning Sorc has been tuned down a little bit. So what happened here is they buffed the base value of the splintering aspect, so it went from 50% to 80% weapon damage, and then it kind of scales up with and like item power and stuff like that. So it doesn't actually have that number, but it is much higher. So you see here it's like 4,853, and then this actually got like a 60% buff. So that's really nice. But the reason why they did the buff is because it will now arc to enemies less frequently. Now we don't really know what that means at all, because previously it was always arcing. So it says critical hits with Lightning Spear cause lightning to arc, and then it hits up to 5 other enemies. And well, we have no idea like how much less it is now or something like that, but it's definitely noticeable that the AoE damage is tuned down here. So despite a higher damage value, you now deal less damage, or rather you deal that higher damage less often. So the advantage here is that, at least at first glance, is have more raw damage, and that means when there's no enemies to arc to in single target situations on bosses, you would think, hey, this is a nice buff actually. And it also doesn't really seem to be the case for that exactly. Now I haven't really done any benchmarking before this hotfix and after for like a single target, let's say pit boss or something like that, but I have tried this a little bit in the infernal hordes, and I can definitely tell that it does seem a little bit weaker when it comes to single target, and then kind of a bit noticeably weaker on AoE damage. And the reason for that is also this Fracture of Winterglass change. So apparently they had some server issues. To be honest, I'm not too surprised that, you know, like tens of thousands of frozen orb sorcs at the same time spawning like 50 conjurations every second or something are causing the servers to lag. In fact, this season, the servers have been the most unstable that I have seen. And that might actually be because of this. And this is probably why they have done this change. So it seems like this was actually causing the servers to, you know, crash, lag, and whatever, because there was so much stuff going on with this build. And I guess if you have seen this in action, yeah, it was pretty crazy. So when you have, you know, all your lightning spears and your frozen orbs running like this, yeah, of course, you know, also on world bosses, I noticed some pretty crazy lags, and that was not even with like, you know, maximum amount of people present, you know, even with like 5 people. I noticed sometimes when there were sorcs that this would lag out or something. So yeah, I can definitely see this stability problem here. And what they've done is that they've also kind of tuned down the frozen orb casts, basically, that the conjurations can do on the higher end. So I don't think it should be really noticed too much on like lower geared sorcs, basically, where if you don't have enough attack speed, enough cooldown to really like spam everything and get like those, you know, 30 conjuration stacks or so consistently, I guess you should not really notice too much, because it seems like I keep getting to like similar conjuration stacks here on my passive here. You see this here, the third buff, for example. Now, of course, when I'm not fighting, it goes down, but then in the fight, it goes up to like, you know, 20, 25 or so. This is like a pretty typical value for me. It might be slightly less than before, which means you have a slightly lower multiplier, and which also means that you have generally less lightning spears floating around. So they will do a little less damage, and you will have a little bit fewer of them, but then every time they actually hit a target, it will do more damage, but then they will arc less often. So yeah, the net result is that it seems the AoE clear is tuned down, but a single target may be kind of similar or maybe even better. So that's kind of like what I felt here, at least. This is, for example, also the T8 council fight. This is with my Sorc here. I have a relatively tanky setup, so this is not like super greedy offensive, but I would have killed them by now before the patch. It's like my expectation at this point. And it seems like for me the council fight is something like, I don't know, 50% longer, maybe double as long also compared to what I remember, at least. When I compare this to what I was doing the last few days on my Sorc, I haven't really changed my gear or my setup or something. So yeah. On the other hand, I mean, I'm still cruising for T8s, getting 1000 ever, as you can see here. on hardcore, I have nothing to complain about really. I guess it's just something to kind of be aware of, that this is happening basically, or that this has happened. So when you log in tomorrow or so and you have not actually played it yet since the hotfix, yeah, it seems like they've kind of like brought AoE and single target a bit closer together. That's actually something I talked about a lot in my guide as well. It's like a massive gap between AoE and single target on this build, probably the largest gap of all builds in the game. And now that seems to be a bit more consistent at least, which is kind of nice. But the overall power level seems to be slightly reduced, especially when it comes to like the very high-end content. So when you're talking about like Pit pushing like 140 plus, 150 plus or something like that, I guess you will start noticing this for real. In most other content outside of that, even Infernal Hordes up to tier 8, I mean, it works just fine, honestly. So once you have a really good setup, you're gonna be pumping. This is still like a really good build, really like, maybe it's not like the number 1 or number 2 build in the game anymore. Maybe it's like number 3 now or something like that. So this is kind of where it's at. So overall, not really a huge reason to panic. I guess there might be a lot of like negative comments here that, you know, oh, Sorc is dead now or something, as people like to like, you know, be a bit hysterical about such nerfs. Yeah, it is what it is, I guess. So on the other hand, Sorc is blasting with not just this build, and it has multiple options. So for me, for example, I also want to try some Chain Lightning very soon and see how that goes. I will link the post to this hotfixes here. There's also more stuff. Maybe you have missed that from the like, last few days. They have been hotfixing a bunch of stuff since the season start, and of course there's going to be more coming. So they're probably going to like keep piling this up in this forum post here. So you can maybe also bookmark the link for yourself. That might be useful. But for now, this is what I got here with the Sorc hotfix. There was also some other small stuff. We have yeah, some damage or time effects that persist after you have died. I can't really relate. And yeah, some stability improvements, so maybe the servers are just going to be better now with this frozen orb stuff fixed a little bit. On the bright side though, if you're playing like a pure lightning spear, like lightning version basically without the frozen orb, which is kind of like a worse version of this lightning spear build, but kind of like an early game version, like you can get started with that much easier than with the Fractured Winterglass, then you might actually be better off now. Because this arcing less frequently might not be so bad, and the damage buff here might be felt more, and you don't really have any kind of real reduction in the Conjuration Mastery stacks, for example, which also plays a little bit of a role here with just like less damage output. So in that case, there's probably like a bit of a convergence in power as well between the pure lightning and then the frozen orb Winterglass kind of setup for Lightning Spear. So this is something that I had in my guide. Just to give maybe a little bit of a refresher, or if you haven't seen it, I also made a video about this setup that we originally thought we would be playing basically based on the PTR before we had the unique reworks that enabled this whole combo with the Fractured Winterglass. So this cooldown reduction effect was not present on this item before, and then it came in basically right in the last few days before the patch when they showed us the new uniques. But before that we had this build here. That was basically like a spark build. You spam spark, you lightning spear whenever ready, and then you have unstable currents like proccing lots of lightning spears. And that build might actually be stronger now. So I'm not sure exactly. I haven't tried it since the patch, but yeah, it seems like, you know, with this going a bit down, maybe this potentially going a bit up, it seems like they might be closer together. And if you want to like to try a non-Winterglass version, it might still be weaker, but maybe not as much at least. Either way, this is what I have to share here for the Lightning Sorcs. So not really too much to worry about. You will feel it a little bit, but I think it's kind of okay. So hope you enjoyed this here. I'll keep you guys updated with more stuff, and of course also more Sorc builds, so stay tuned for that. Hope you like this, and see you guys next time.